Berlin. My father was a decorated World War I officer, but he fought on the wrong side because he was fighting for the Kaiser. And we thought that living in Berlin was perfectly fine, except that we had some American relatives who said, "You got to get out of this place," because of our Jewish background. And so we emigrated to the United States in 1937. I went to high school outside of New York City in Scarsdale, New York, and then went on to college. I was interested in chemistry, and I decided I would major in chemistry in college, largely because I had a high school teacher who was teaching chemistry, and I thought that was very exciting. I was in college just about 3 months or so when Pearl Harbor was bombed. And that time, of course, America tried to stay out of the war until this happened. And so the question was, what do you do next? I was told that the development of science was extremely important in the national interest, and I should, by all means, finish my college education in chemistry, which I did. I had got a bachelor's degree at Yale. As soon as I finished that, I was drafted and served in the infantry for basic training. When the Army discovered that because I had lived in Germany for some 12, 13 years, that I spoke German. And they thought that that might be of interest in the American war effort. Also the fact that I could use a typewriter, they thought was very significant. And so I was pulled out of the infantry and was sent to an ASTP program, Army Specialized Training Program, in Ohio State, in Columbus, Ohio, where I was supposed to learn German in a couple of months, which is all right because I'd been speaking it for 12 years. And at that point, we started to get involved in German history and German philosophy. I was then transferred to a place called Camp Ritchie in northern Maryland. Camp Ritchie at that point was a major interrogation center, and it dealt largely with trying to extract as much information as possible from captured German soldiers. The emphasis at Camp Ritchie was to find out information of military significance. And for instance, the questions that we learned to ask were, who is your commanding officer? Where is the local machine gun? And to get very specific war-related activities. To my great surprise, while everybody else was shipped overseas, I was told that I would be going to a place near Washington, D.C., where I had never been. That turned out to be 1142. And at 1142, because I had scientific training, mind you, a bachelor's degree in chemistry doesn't make you a super scientist, but the idea was that I should be able to interrogate those technically proficient and expert engineers and scientists who were captured by the American military in Germany and sent to this country for trying to get information that might be useful in the war effort. All this was around the beginning of 1945. As you remember, the war ended later in 45, but it was not at all sure exactly when that would be, because with the Battle of the Bulge, which was a great surprise to the American military, the war suddenly took a dangerous turn. And it was only during the early part of 45 that it was clear that America was winning the war. It was an amazing experience. I was put in a room to deal with some of the captured Germans who had made some major contributions, and my job was to find out exactly what they had done and to report to the War Department, which preceded the Pentagon, that of the information that is acquired in this way. And it was amazing because I interrogated somebody who had been working on purifying uranium. And I didn't know why anybody would want to purify uranium. You have to remember that this was at a time before the atomic bomb was released, and that information was totally secret, and there was really no knowledge at all about what atomic energy could do with respect to the war. So I was interrogating this gentleman, and he was very open, because at that time, this was around just before the war, the German-European war was essentially over. But the people realized that for the Germans there was no hope, and that it was important for them to deal with Americans and the Allies, because they didn't want to deal with the Russians, which was the other alternative. And so I was interrogating people about not only atomic energy, as I say, which really hadn't been discovered yet. I was interrogating somebody else as to why it was that the German planes, the new German planes, were so much faster than our planes. And I'd never been in a plane, because I thought that planes had propellers, but the Germans had used jet engines to power their aircraft. And this was a major change, because here, all of a sudden, the speed of the new airplanes was so much faster than what we had done. This was could have been a very frightening experience, because superiority of the air was extremely important during World War II. We had acquired that because of our extensive bombing efforts, but there was now certainly a challenge that we Americans might lose the superiority of the air over Europe because of the fact that these planes were so fast we couldn't shoot them down. One of the other activities was to deal with the fact that the Germans had developed an extensive rocket program, and they were sending rockets over London to bomb London extensively. And one of the person who was the leader and instigator of this program was Wernher von Braun. He was one of the people that we interrogated. He then, because of his expertise, was told that he and his family would be able to work in the United States. He was sent to a place in Texas, and he was one of the people, if not the most important person, to develop the rocket that eventually landed American people on the moon. The person that I interviewed about the atomic bomb project, except I didn't know what that was, I should actually mention that while I was still in college, a lot of my colleagues, fellow students, were told that they should consider a position to go to a place called Oak Ridge and work for a company called Kellogg. And I didn't know what that was. I couldn't find Oak Ridge on the map. And Kellogg's, I knew was a maker of cereal. And so I didn't know why all these people were going to go down there. And I said, can I go too? And they said, no, because you're not an American citizen yet. But when I interrogated this gentleman who had been involved in the purification of uranium, I thought that would be the end of my experience in military intelligence, because I went back, got my degree in chemistry, and then came to George Washington University as a scientist, where I still am. But the opportunity that I had of military intelligence was promptly came back to me when I attended a meeting in Paris, scientific meeting, where a lot of scientists were interested in biochemistry, which is my field. And I saw there sitting a person who looked very familiar, and he looked at me, and he realized that he had seen me before, and suddenly it occurred to both of us, and I heard him say to his wife, who was with him, "My God, there is my former prison